in 5 month career point, we are starting this group 1 mains descriptive coaching for all the subjects. We are offering the mains subjects. So it is the crucial time for the students who have been got into the got into the group 1. In a weekdays it is going to come their results. The preliminary results are expected. So it is the time to prepare very seriously for the mains exam. We found that in Hyderabad, there is a lesser opportunity for the students to prepare in English medium. So, 5 Mantra Career Point is offering English medium in English medium also. It is very important to write in English medium because of the reason the people who are going to appoint as RDOs or RDOs or DSPs, or the people who are going to have the group 1 positions are going to have the next level of the positions, particularly for civil services. Hence, it is very, very important to understand the kind of knowledge they require, the kind of how the Telangana Public Service Commission is expecting from the students. Hence, it is very, very important to prepare very well. And as of now, many students are trying to prepare in Telugu medium, and some of the students are trying to prepare in English medium. However, there is no absolute institute in Hyderabad to offer them in English medium. So now the 5 Mantra Career Point is going to offer you English medium courses also for all the subjects, including general essay. So it is also important, very, very important, students, to how to write, this general essay, how to write this the content, how to make it very structured. In this regard, now straight away I am going to the topic, because in the month of October, the mains exams are scheduled. Now onwards, the students and the aspirants should be well prepared on the subject very comprehensively. I am Dr. Srinivas. I am going to take you through some of the aspects with regard to paper 3. Paper 3 is consists of Indian society, Indian constitution, as well as governance. Now let us try to understand this paper mains. You are going to get 3 hours of time. In that 3 hours of time, for example, if I take you to this group 1 mains descriptive, if I take you to the paper 3, the paper 3 is with Indian society, Indian constitution, as well as governance. You will be getting 5 questions from Indian society, and you will be getting 5 questions from Indian constitution, and you will be going to get 5 questions from the governance. This is the recent and revised syllabus which has been formulated by Telangana Public Service Commission. So there is a detailed subtopics have been given in this Indian society, Indian constitution, as well as Indian governance. Now, how many questions you are going to get from Indian society? Means there are 5 questions. You are going to get 5 questions from here, and 5 questions from here, and 5 questions from here. So the student would be able to answer all these 15 questions in 3 hours of time. You are going to get 180 minutes. This is a descriptive answer. You are going to write in detail. In this description, you are going 180 minutes time, means almost 3 hours of time is going to give to answer. Now let us try and understand what are the subtopics are there in this Indian society, Indian constitution, and Indian governance. Now I am not going to talk in detail about the constitution and governance. Over a period of time, we will be able to provide you the classes in English medium, then you would be able to understand. However, today in this particular class, I am going to talk about one of the lesson or one of the topic which is essential for all the main students, whether the question may come in your general essay paper, or the question may also come in Indian society. All the aspirants who wanted to write main exams, they would be very well prepared for this question, because many times it has been observed in UPSC also. However, there is a greater possibility in the mains exams in the coming months. Now, I have formulated a question with regard to questions from social issues. There is a subtopic Indian society, that is called, Indian social structure is there, Indian social movements is there, Telangana social movements is there. At the same time, there are social issues are there. Whatever the social issues, whatever the social issues are there, then the examiner is going to identify one of those issues. They wanted to know whether the aspirant is having complete knowledge on this particular social issue. So, like, Jogini system is a social issue. Violence against women, there is a social issue. Poverty is an issue. Like that, there is an issue called child labor. Child labor is also a social issue. In this coming 1 hour's time, we are going to discuss in detail. We are going to discuss in detail about one question. Mainly try to understand how the examiner is going to put you, how the examiner is going to assess you, assess your knowledge particular this issue. It is part of your syllabus. At the same time, you need to understand, yes, there is a syllabus. There is a syllabus. In that syllabus, Indian society, polity and governance is a topic, and also in that there is a social issues. In that there is a child labor issue is there. You need to work, the question may be put in any way. For example, the question may be designed in like that: child labor in India, issues and challenges, or discuss major provisions in the Child Labor Prohibition Regulation Act 2016. Here, an aspirant would be able to understand there are certain social issues are there. Among those social issues, child labor issue is one of those. So, the aspirant would be able to get very 360 degrees, means the structured knowledge on this child labor. What is the reason why the examiner wanted to assess you on the child labor? Because once you become a group 1 successful person, you are going to implement, you are going to be a subdivisional magistrate of that particular geographical region. So you should understand about the issues. You should also understand what are the issues around this child labor issues. So now the question may be like that, child labor issues, labor in India, issues and challenges, discuss, evaluate. Like that, you may be getting one question. Or else discuss major provisions. What are the provisions are provided? Means there is an act passed with regard to child labor, that is called the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act. The act was in the year 1986. Later on it was amended to in 2016. So the examiner wanted to understand that whether this person is able to know what exactly the legislation of this land, means the law of this country is saying regarding the child labor. So now we will see how answer you need to write. Right. Now, if the topic is on child labor, you need to have the complete structure of that question. Means what is meant by child labor. Before that, you should understand what is the prevalence as of now in this country or across the globe. What is the prevalence? What is the magnitude of this child labor? At the same time, what exactly, who is a child, who is a child labor, what constitution says about these children, and what are the provisions are given to these children, and what are the causes of this child labor, how to address this child labor issue, and at the same time, conclusion. What are your viewpoints with regarding to child labor? Here, I wanted to tell one thing, that if you wanted to write any essay, you should have a comprehensive understanding of that particular subject. And at the same time, it's not when you write essay, you should you should substantiate with some data, for example, what data says, whether it is a government of India labor department, whether it is an international labor organization, whether it is UN organizations, anyhow, anyone who is working around this child labor, you should try to put some of the things. If you write the answer in generic way like a layman, it is not properly scored, it is not properly given marks. So what exactly you have to do is, you have to have some substantial data. My dear friends, today the answer is written with a lot of exploration, with lot of research, with regard to Telangana region students, with regard to Telangana, because the upcoming exam is going to be held for Telangana students. So I have prepared. Now you can download this answer. Otherwise, the points which I am trying to make here, if you put together, you will get your answer. That answer will be helpful for you for your general essay as well as your society paper, social issues. Among that, there is a child labor issue. So now try to understand the first important point, or the first important side heading would be prevalence of the child labor. Means, what is the magnitude, what is the problem, really it is a problem. In case if it is a really problem, how it is going to be, let us try to understand. You can start your answer with nice statement like, children are the future of any nation. If any nation wanted to flourish, the children are the future. You can use these kind of statement. I try to use this statement, but you can use any kind of statement which can mention, which can stress that, how children are very, very, very important to that particular land or country. But globally, it is estimated that 2 billion children are there. At present, when I Google it, I got to know that, there are 2 billion children. Means, out of 800 plus million population, the children population was 2 billion was there. Among them, as my concern is child labor, then I try to understand, oh, of 2 billion children are there, among them how many children are in child labor. Then among them 160 million are child labor as per the United States. When you write some data, it is very, very important, it is very, very essential, from where you have received the data, from where you have got that data. So I got the data from United Nations, which is an international organization where the government, mean the local governments, also take or quote the data of those organizations. According to United Nations, there was 160 million or child labor. These child labor are mostly from Africa and also Asia. We need to understand, across the globe, the prevalence of child labor is there. However, the children from Africa and also Asia, majority of the children are from, in child labor. And now let us come down. Yes, you got some understanding on international figures. Now come to the national level. Let us think. According to census 2001, so we generally quote the data of census. So according to census 2001, there was around 1.26 crore. This is the data which is on the website of Labor Department, Government of India. I am not giving my own data or any other organization data. This is the data is given by, it is also now provided on the website of Labor Department, Government of India. It says that in the year 2001, there were 1.26 crore working children between the age group of 5 to 14 out of the total children population, it is 25 crore. In the year 2001, there was 25 crore children were there. Among them, there was 1.26 crore was, they were child labor. And the next census happened, as per the next census, that was held in 2011, the working children was 43.53 lakhs. In 2011 census, there was 43.53 lakh children were working as a child labor. We need to understand after 2011, there was no recent census, so we can't quote it. We can quote it, but if you have any authentic data given by the government of Telangana or Labor Department, you can quote it. However, when you quote it, you need to mention that this is as per government of Telangana, or this is as per Labor Department. When you come to know in which states in India, which states are having high prevalence with regard to child labor. See, Uttar Pradesh, the child labor is high. Bihar, the child labor rate is very high. Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and roughly 55% of the working children are in India. In all these states, more than 50% children are, in this child labor. We need to understand around 55% score is coming from. Mostly we call it as our Bimaru states also. So from these Bimaru states, the child labor rate is very, very high. Now, yes, you got a better understanding what was the prevalence at the international level as well as the India level. Yes, it is a social issue. The issue is prevalent. Now, you need to understand very structurally, very vertically as well as horizontally about the issue. Then you need to go into deeper that who is a child. Is there any definition is given? Then because the group 1 aspirant understanding of that issue is not like an ordinary person, not like a small middle management officer. Since the group 1 position is a senior management position in the government administration as well as the governance, so you need to understanding very deeper that who is a child, for that matter, to whom we are calling it as a child, where the definition of this child is written. Now I have prepared this. Let us try to understand to whom we will call it as a child. According to international law, a child means every human being below the age of 18 years. This is according to international law. Every human being who is below 18 years is called as child. That is the reason in India till today also, if you want to get a license to drive a vehicle, you need to complete 18 years. If a person wanted to get married, for particularly girls, it is plus 18. As well as, there are certain restrictions are there. The children who are below 18 treated as a children. But we will see in detail what is up to the age of 14 and what is up to the what we call after crossing 14 and also 18 in detail. But however, here the definition mentioned with regard to according to international laws, a child means every human being below the age of 18 years. This is a universal state accepted by majority of the nations. Majority of the nations agreeing United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Children held in 1989. This convention was held on 20th November 1989. Dear friends, it is very, very important for you what exactly this United Nations Convention on the Child Rights. They have decided, the convention was decided that this is the age. Once that is decided in the year 1989, that is accepted by nations across the globe. Many times, for many issues, whether it is a climate change issue, whether it is a poverty eradication issue, whether it is a gender issue, so many international conventions will be held. Based on that conventions, the local governments, means the country's government, they adopt certain issues drawing from that conventions in their policies. We need to understand how it happens. So here also there was a convention. Here you have one question for your group 2 also. You know, when was the United Convention on Rights of the Children was held? It was in the year 1989, 20th November. Where it was held? It is in New York. Coming to the child rights and all those things, there is a greater possibility of having couple of questions for your group 2 exam also. However, we are discussing the mains exam. Fine. Now we got to know that who is a child. There is a UN convention on rights of children. In that convention, it is decided that 18 years, the children below the age of 18 years are called treated as children, and all the countries also accepted them as a children. For now, who is a child labor? For that matter, now coming to the point, the matter which we are discussing now is who is a child labor. Then there is a definition is given by International Labour Organization. The aspirants would be able to understand what is this International Labour Organization. The International Labour Organization is an international organization like United Nations. Like as part of the United Nations only, ILO is also working. So they have given a definition for a child labor. They have given a definition for a child labor. According to International Labour Organization, the term labor refers as the work that deprives, we need to understand, which is deprives children of their childhood. When certain work is depriving the children, then you need to understand what kind of work deprives their childhood. If any work deprives the children their childhood, then their potential, means their capacity, their dignity, that is harmful for physical, mental development. Okay, any work which is stopping them to grow mentally, physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, is stopping the child because of certain work, then that is called child labor. You may see many children working in the hotels, in the brick industry, in the agriculture industry, in the manufacturing industry. These are the things which we will see. But which certain that work is depriving mentally, physically, physiologically, then that is called child labor. Means it refers to work that is mentally, physically, socially, or which is more dangerous and harmful to children. Whatever the work is harmful for the children, then it is called treated as child labor. The work which is very dangerous, that is also treated as. But however, here we need to understand there is an organization that is called International Labour Organization. We call it as ILO. That ILO says that whatever the work that deprives the childhood of the children is called child labor. How they deprives? Because which is affecting the mentally, which is affecting socially, which is affecting physiologically, which is affecting the physical growth of the children, then it is called, that person is called as a child labor. So this is another definition. Now there is a Gurupada Swami committee. This was the first of its kind committee. Now in the first slide you came to know the prevalence, the numbers of child labor at international level and as well as at our country level. The second point, you try to understand who is a child, and at the same time who is a child labor. Now, in this third slide, we try to understand there was a first committee. This is also a your group 2 bit question also. Which of the following committees is treated as the first committee on child labor? Then you need to tell that you need to write Guru Padaswamy committee. There is a committee called Guru Padaswamy. Now let us try to understand what exactly this Guru Padaswamy committee said. The first committee under the chairmanship of Guru Padaswamy was appointed in the year 1979 to study and examine the child labor issues in India and measures to tackle it. Means what is the problem, how this problem is there, and how to address it. Government of India wanted to understand exactly how was that problem prevails, and at the same time how it could be addressed. That is, Guru Padaswamy committee was appointed in the year 1979. Based on the recommendation of Guru Padaswamy committee, the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act was enacted. You see, there was a first committee appointed under the chairmanship of Guru Padaswamy in the year 1979. This was the first of its kind committee. So, this committee has recommended, based on the recommendation of Guru Padaswamy, the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act was enacted in the year 1986. We need to tell that there was a act, that there is a legislation, that was the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. On whose recommendation? This is Guru Padaswamy committee recommendation. Now let us try to understand what exactly this act says, what exactly this act give some sort of empowering the child labor. According to this act, employment of children was prohibited in certain specific hazardous occupations and processes. According to this 1986 Act, certain children were prohibited to work in some dangerous industries and companies. Regulated the working conditions. It has also regulated the working conditions of the children. Further, the Child Labor Technical Advisory Committee was constituted under this Act. Once this Act was formulated, later on there was a Technical Advisory Committee was also constituted under the Act. Subsequently, the Act was amended recently, that is in 2016, with 2016 there was an amendment where prohibiting the employment of children below 14 years. Means the children below 14 years not at all supposed to work any company, any work. That is given after the amendment. Before that, you need to understand there is a thin line. Till what 1986 Act says, the children below the age of 14 are not supposed to work in hazardous and dangerous, harmful places. But the recent amendment, it says that any work, the children between 14 years are not supposed to attend. So, employment also with the provisions for prohibition on employment of adolescents. Now, there is another word. You see, adolescents. Now, there are children, means below 14 years, and the child who completed 14 years and who has not completed 18 years, they are called as adolescents according to this Act. In the scheduled hazardous occupations and other companies. Means the children and adolescents, they are not allowed to work in any hazardous or dangerous, harmful places, manufacturing industries. So now you might be understanding there was a first committee. The committee was Gurupada Swami committee. On the basis of the recommendations of Gurupada Swami committee, the first act came in 1986. Further, it has been, amended in 2006. Now, the, after the amendment also, there was a policy. You need to understand there is a policy. What that policy says, there is a policy that is called National Policy on Child Labor, stressed on the following. There is also a national policy on child labor. They have stressed certain things. Now let us try to understand what exactly they stressed, on which issues they have stressed, what exactly they wanted to have. Means first, legislative action plan for the strict enforcement of child adolescent labor. This is act. Whatever the act being made, particularly for these children, that is adolescents, that is called the Adolescent Labor Prohibition Regulation Act. This should be implemented very stringently, means very strictly, so that only we can prevent child labor or we can rescue child labor. First of all, it is very important to prevent the child labor issue. Over a period of time, we may eradicate this child labor. So strict enforcement means strict implementation of that particular act. The second point is National Child Labor Project, NCLP, schemes. There were certain projects have been came up from the government of India, that is called NCLP, National Child Labor Project. This is project based actions in high concentration areas of adolescent labor. Wherever there is high child labor, there the government of India came up with certain new projects to prevent, to eradicate this child labor. So this project shall be implemented and focus on general development programs. Now, if you understand why the root cause of child labor, why a boy or a girl coming to work, because the issue is very structured, because it must be because of poverty, because it must be of unemployment, because it was because of migration, because so these are all underlying issues. These things need to be addressed. So for that, focus. The national policy says focus on general development programs. Means if there is a huge underdevelopment is there, try to focus. Child labor is an issue, must be, maybe you can see as a tip of the iceberg, whereas the underlying causes for this child labor is so many: poverty, unemployment, disaster, climate change, and migration, so many other issues. If you work on these development programs, it may come down. So the national policy says, you know, articulated these three important issues. Now, an aspirant will be able to understand structurally. I told you, if the issue is that you need to understand all the angles, all the corners of this particular answer. Yes, we try to understand the definition of the child. We try to understand the definition of the labor. Before that, we try to understand the prevalence rate of child labor. Later on, we try to understand what was the committee. Then we try to understand what was the legislation made in our country. Okay, the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. Then later on, we also try to understand there was a national policy on child issues. There was a national policy on child labor. Now, according to this Indian Constitution, is there any provisions are given? Means the Indian Constitution is given, Indian Constitution has provided any place for this particular children. If it is provided, what exactly, how the Constitution treats these children? Now try to understand. The first point here is right to free and compulsory elementary education for all children between the age group of 6 to 4. You know, you must be observing a boy who is working, but the Constitution says there is right to education, compulsory education. It is provided according to your 86th Constitutional Amendment Act. In the Constitution, it is 21A. It is 21A. According to Indian Constitution 21A, every child has a right to receive education between the age group of 6 to 14. It is mandatory, and the government, the state, is supposed to provide compulsory education for a child who is between 6 to 14. This is one of the important constitutional provision. Next one, a right to be protected from any hazardous employment till the age of 14 years. Means no child is supposed to work. Child labor is abandoned. Means according to Article 24 of this Indian Constitution, no child is supposed to work. No child labor is supposed to work. So it is not supposed to work. But the third point is right to equal opportunities and facilitates to develop healthy manner in a conditions of freedom, dignity, guaranteed protection of child youth against exploitation. A child is not supposed to be exploited. A child is treated as with a dignity, with healthy. All these things are provided in your Article 39F. These two articles in your fundamental rights, and this 39F, it is in your directive principles of state policy. Hence, we need to understand certain constitutional provisions are provided for child in the Constitution. Now, what are the next? Beside those, some of the things are also there. Like everyone we get, right to equality means Article 14, equality before law and equal protection of laws. This is your Article 14. This right is also given to the child. A child is also having equal right on par with other adults. And right against discrimination, Article 15 means there shall be no discrimination against any child. If you want to make any laws, whether it is a union government, whether it is state government, if they wanted to make any laws to address or to empower, whether it is education, whether it is health, whether it is any other opportunities of a child, they can easily do it. Means there is no discrimination. Article 15 also gives enough scope for the writing. It is not discriminating. It gives enough scope for the empowerment of the children. Laws can be made, policies can be made for the improvement of the or development of the children. And right of weaker sections of the people to be protected from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. You have one more article that is called Article 46 of DPSP. Here, any weaker sections are there for their improvement, for their development. You can you can develop policies for their betterment. So, these are some of the constitutional provisions are provided in the Indian Constitution. So we have a demo. There is a Group 1 mains demo. It is scheduled on 30th June, and Five Mantra is offering English medium as well as Telugu medium. The purpose of this organizing or conducting mains classes, the students, the aspirants will be able to get very constructive, comprehensive, structured knowledge on various issues. Here all the eminent faculty are going to teach you. Dr. Riaz is there, Dr. Ramesh is there, Dr. Ramadevi is there, Dr. Usha Rathod is there, and myself, Dr. Srinivas, and Dr. Naresh Garu, and Ishwar Garu. All these people in offline classes are going to give concepts. For example, now in this particular lesson, I am giving various key points to write your essay. I am giving some points to side heading points to write your question in paper 3. Similarly, in the class, you are going to put together, you are going to write together, and you are going to practice together. Then within coming 110 days, you are going to be gem in writing. My dear friends, it is very important to having writing practice. It is whether it is in Telugu, whether it is in English, it is important to learn the concept of that particular topic is essential. At the same time, you have to write the answer, and you have to you have to show that answer to the subject expert at what level you would be able to present the thing, because you are having 180 minutes. In that, particularly if you come to the third paper, there will be 5 questions from society, 5 questions from polity, 5 questions from governance. All to put together, you are supposed to write 15 questions. Then, if you divide the time, it is around 12 minutes. In that 12 minutes, how you are going to present your answer is important. At the same time, in what way you are going to give statistics, in what way you are giving the reports given by various departments, various concerned departments. At the same time, in what way you are going to give the substantial data from international organizations. If you have all these things, the examiner definitely thinks that you are having that much of knowledge, very comprehensive knowledge to address or to write the answer. Hence, again I am repeating that there is a demo. This is called a grand demo. This is called offline demo at 10 a.m. on 30 June. Please come to the institute, and please sit for some time, interact with the subject expert, interact with all the faculty members, try to understand where you stand now, how you can improve in the coming 110 days. In the month of October, the mains exam is scheduled. Hence, it is very important to have a lot of writing practice. It is very important to have writing practice, understanding the topic, drawing the question, and writing the answer. So now, yes, Gurupada Swami has on his recommendations, there was a committee that was a Gurupada Swami committee. Later on his recommendation, the act was done. Later on, that act was called, the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 2016. I said, in the year 1986, the act was formulated, but later on in the year 2016, there was an amendment. But you may be getting a question, another question: what are the salient features of the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 2016, or the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986? What are the salient features of that act? Or discuss some of the provisions. Discuss some of the provisions of Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act. Then you need to understand what are some of the important points have been mentioned in this particular act. What exactly it is given. Now, I have formulated in this answer very simple English, so that you can just remember and write it. First, this act, one important feature of this act is definition of the child. This act, what it says is, it says who is a child, means definition of child. The Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Act changed the definition of child. It defined as per who has not reached 14 years, means the child is below 14 years. Where it is mentioned? It is mentioned in the act. The age provided in the right to education act, whichever is higher. Now they wanted to compare, there is an age factor in right to free and compulsory education, and there is an act in this particular act, whichever is higher, it is treated as, definition of the child. But as of now, we need to understand the age of the child is below 14 years, who has not completed, whether it's a boy or girl, 14 years. That is, this is a definition. It is given in the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 2016. Now, another important point, another important feature of this act is that, provision of this act is definition. It has defined the adolescent. The definition is given here is who is an adolescent. Here, the definition is who is a child. Here, the definition of the adolescent. In Telugu, adolescent means Kaumara Dasa. Kaumara Dasa means adolescent stage. So, in definition of adolescent is, the term adolescent means a person completes 14 years and not completes 18 years. Means a boy or a girl who has completed 14 years but not completed 18 years, they are treated as adolescent. This is also one of the feature is provided in the act. Now, adolescents prohibition in employment. The adolescents are also prohibited, means not allowed in employment. This is one of the feature provided in this particular act. In 2016 amendment says that adolescents are not allowed to work in hazardous or harmful industries. Means earlier it was only children, but it has enhanced. Now the adolescents who have not completed 18 years are also not allowed to work in any dangerous, harmful industries or hazardous industries. This we need to understand. This the amendment had come in the 2016. And you see there is a punishment, very important. What exactly the punishment is given for that kind of particular cases? Where it is mentioned? It is mentioned in the act. One of the feature is there is a punishment. There is a clause for punishment. Punishment for companies has been increased. The punishment for individuals or guardian has been lessened. In the 2000 Act, if anyone caught, if any boy below the 18 years or below to 14 years are working, if they are caught, the punishment is given higher. The punishment is given higher for that particular industry, for particular that company, not for the individual, and also not for the guardian. This is one of the important point need to be understood. It is one of the feature of the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act. And child labor is now cognizable offense. It is an offense. We need to understand. If anyone files the authority, any employer means any company, any organization, any industry committed offense, means if they are hired any boy below the age of 14 and 18, they are, that is an offense. He or she shall be punishable. The authorities can file an FIR, conduct investigation and arrest without a warrant. Means if the government authorities or the NGOs, whoever, if they see a boy, the girl who is working in that harmful industry or dangerous industry, they can tell the government authorities. The government authorities, they can file FIR and without any warrant. So the employer, the owner of that company is going to be convicted. District magistrate authority. What is the district magistrate? The district collector authority means the district magistrate has the authority to implement this act. Means the government, means the state, the district collector has the sole authority to implement this act perfectly without any deviation. Means the district collector is having sole authority. Child and Adolescent Labor Rehabilitation Fund. Here, one of the feature is maintain, or there is a fund, Child and Adolescent Labor Rehabilitation Fund. Government shall have dedicated fund in each district or two districts. So they have to allocate fund for the rehabilitation. And one more point is, here I missed here, inspection and monitoring. One more point is inspection and monitoring. Government and concerned department shall periodically inspect dangerous sites, prevent and monitor the child labor activities in that particular district or in that particular regional level, revenue divisional level or mandal level, where there is a high child, high prevalence of child labor. The government authorities regularly inspect that areas and monitor to prevent the child labor in that particular area. Now, you need to understand, in general you must be knowing certain things, but however it is very very important to know what are the causes why this child labor is still is exists, still it is prevail. One of the reason is poverty. Still, poverty is one of the reason where the family is not able to meet the needs of the particular family. Then the children are forced to go to work. So poverty, economic pressures. Due to economic pressures to meet the needs of that particular family, then children will go to work. Lack of quality education. In case if the child finds something is something not good, not quality education is provided in that particular school, the disinterest develops and immediately he will find some place to work. Lack of child labor awareness. If the if a child is works in company, what happens, what are the disadvantages, how it is going to lose his physical, social, mental development. That kind of awareness is not there among the parents as well as the children. So that is also one of the important point for there is a need, there is an increase of this child labor. And conflicts, most of the time conflicts also reason for, it may happen in the families, between the nations or between the communities. If there is any conflicts happen, the children are forced to go to work for their bread and butter. So this is one of the reason for the child labor. And migration, several times migration from rural to urban. This migration is also increasing the child labor, because in towns and cities they are supposed to gain their income for their livelihood. For that, migration is also one of the reason for the child labor. And natural disasters, it must be tufans, it must be cyclones, it must be earthquakes. These kind of natural disaster is also one of the reason for the child labor. And climate change, there is a drought. For that matter, if there is a long drought, then the people are not able to afford for their food, shelter, then immediately the children are forced to child labor. So as a labor during, so it is also one of the reason to for a child labor. Gender disparities, if there is a difference between boy and girl, many times it happens the girls are forced to work at household chores. So we can understand gender is also one of the important element where forcing the child for a child labor. Demand for cheap labor means sometimes it happens the owners of the companies, the owners of the contractors, when they get their work done with the small boys and girls, means they are getting cheap labor. If that is done, then the children also more motivated to get into the work. So that is also one of the reason. And no strict legislation. If that country doesn't have any kind of strict legislation, then is also the child labor may increase and increase. There is a greater possibility. So these are all important root causes. You may be having some more according to that particular region, but if you are asked what are the important reasons for child labor, what are the causes for child labor, what are the root causes of child labor, you need to write these points as side heading. You need to quote little about the act, then your answer will be given good marks. And how to address, yes, as of now the act is in place, and how to how to do much better as of now means how to address child labor issues, means we need to have little more advocacy, means we need to work on discussing on having a dialogue with the government, non-governmental organization, and policy change. Still, if this current policy is not able to work, we need to change the policy, then only we would be able to address the issue. Create awareness, create awareness among the company owners, among the government departments, among the industries, among the parents, among the media, among the civil society organizations. Please try to create awareness as much as possible. If child is sent to any kind of work below 14 years, how physically, how socially, how psychologically, how mentally the child is not going to develop in the future. So we need to create awareness on child labor and provide support education. Make sure the government is supposed to make sure to provide quality education with the digital media, with the practical methodologies, that education help to reduce the child labor. Provide livelihood opportunities. you know at current government is providing breakfast, midday meal, like certain things for the children to increase their attendance. But still, if there is any possibility, add something to that, and provide opportunities for parents of the children. As of now, you must be knowing Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. If the parents are provided certain work, the migration can be stopped, so that they can send their children to the education. That is one of the interventions. Like that, many interventions might be there. However, we need to try to provide as much as possible, whether it is a rural, whether it is a urban, provide the livelihood opportunities for their parents, so that we can prevent or reduce child labor. And promote gender equity, not treating boys and girls in a varied manner. We need to give enough opportunity for both boys and girls, so that we can also reduce our child labor issues. And disaster relief, in case of any earthquakes, in case of any cyclones, in case of any unknown climatic disparities happen, please provide some sort of relief. The government is supposed to provide, or non-governmental organizations also, they can come forward, they can provide certain provisions, relief, so that we can address the child labor issues. So in conclusion, what I would like to say is, all the stakeholders, including governments, non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, media, parents, shall eradicate child labor in India. Let us hope that all the stakeholders, primary stakeholders, secondary stakeholders, they would be able to understand the issue. If they work together, definitely we can eradicate child labor in India, and also we can give a wonderful life for every child in this country. Thank you so much, and we are going to have one more lesson on child labor. If you put all these subheadings, little content, you will be having a wonderful lesson for your general essay as well as your question in paper 3, Indian society, social issues, and also child labor in India. So today I tried to put this answer for both. And one more question, for example, what are the important programs to eradicate child labor in India? Means in that question, again we will discuss what exactly um, the programs have been designed by union government, in what way the state government is also complementing to address the child labor in India. I'll come with that question in my next class. Thank you so much and wish you all good luck. And one more time, I would like to tell you that we have a grand demo. Telangana, the first and the only institute, what I should say, is having the faculty, learned faculty, who can teach English as well as Telugu. So please try to reach out us so that you get to know what are the qualifications of this faculty, in what way they have worked, their work experience of the faculty. Please attend demo class on 30th 30th June morning 10 o'clock. There will be a grand demo on June 30th. The serious students only should come, please. The serious students, please come for this demo so that you would be able to understand the concepts in detail. At the same time, how the questions are formulated and how you are supposed to write those answers. It is very, very important. Practicing answer is an art. If you don't practice, it is not possible to score high. So since you 110 days are left, please come to grand demo on June 30. All the faculty members, Dr. Riya sir, Dr. Ramesh Garu, Dr. Ramadevi Garu, Dr. Usha, Dr. Srinivas, we all together are going to take you to the demo so that you would be able to understand, you are going to benefit out of the demo, how the questions are formulated, how you are supposed to write the answer. Based on my experience, many of the students to whom I am interacting, they might be good in terms of clicking multiple choice questions 1, 2, 3, 4. However, they are not up to the mark to write descriptive answers. They are not, they did not get opportunity till today to practice those answers. Till today, they did not get a platform to write those answers. So, 5 Mantra Career Point is giving you an opportunity to write the answers, to practice the answers, to correct those answers, so that in the month of October you will go and you will go very confidently and write your answers, and you can score better or best marks among all the students who are going to write exam. Thank you so much and wish you all the best. And you reach out on your our 5 mantra phone number 707 9931. Yeah. So here I am giving the phone number. Those who want to reach out, 5 Mantra Career Point, you can contact on this number 707 501 9931. This is the number. Please contact regarding Group 1 mains descriptive final exams. What is the course? Who are the faculty? If you wanted to more information on this mains, please reach out on this number. Thank you so much and wish you all success. Keep studying.